This video goes out to Arafat Baksh, and I hope I'm saying that right. And he's saying that basically I'm his first teacher, and I'm very honored that I am. And he's been learning Tableau and Ultrix and all this, and he wants me to do a review on his visualization. So I had a look this morning, and I am very impressed. So here's what he has. It's been published on Tableau Public, and for someone who's just learning Tableau, this is really impressive, right? So when I started years ago, I couldn't do this within the first 6 months, right? Because at the time there wasn't as much training content out there, but also it wasn't that simple to kind of do these things, right? So to be able to do this in such a short time, it's very impressive. Congratulations, Arafat. And he basically said, can I get some feedback or get my own input? And so I was like, well, this is going to be some fun. So I thought I'll take the same thing and I'll see if I can build something so that, again, it's not to kind of rain on your one. It's something that I actually do professionally where we would take the same data set and everyone just goes out and builds something. And we all get an idea of like all the different things we can do and people get really creative. And I mean, Tableau Public, with the gallery, you'll see things you're like, oh my God, I didn't even know you could do that stuff, right? So I spent a little bit of time, probably like an hour just playing around, messing, just having a bit of fun. I needed a little break from all my work anyway, so it's good to kind of do something a bit different. So what I did was I took his one and I just kind of recreated it in Tableau just so I can kind of have a look. And I just did it from the Superstore data, right? And I started thinking, okay, this is how I would have built a year ago. How would I do it today? So I had to play around with it, and I went from that to this, right? So I kind of approach it more from a like a newspaper article kind of thing nowadays, right? I never used to do it like this. And my thing is, and I wrote a few points, is really depends what I'm building. If I want to build a dashboard, it's not just to build a dashboard. There has to be a purpose to it. So when it comes to sales, usually there's kind of two main directions you can go to. All right, who are the people making the most sales and let's congratulate them, or who are the making the worst sales and what do we do about it, right? So I took kind of the second one of like, what are we going to do about it? Right, and I took kind of the same points of data, but I just kind of changed it around to be more focused in terms of the loss. So, unstoppable saying, things are kind of going good, 4 years of economic growth, which is fantastic. And then a little note of here's a summary of what you're about to read. Because I got to put myself in the seat of someone who's maybe not a Tableau designer, someone who's just, maybe management or someone reading it or going, okay, what, tell me the story. So here it goes. European sales have yet again experienced strong economic growth. However, two countries, Portugal in the south and Netherlands in the north, are both experiencing profit issues, which has created an offset in regional performances, right? A profit sales analysis of Portugal and Netherlands indicate that appliances and bookcases are the biggest cause for these profit losses, respectively. Product line changes are required. So, all right, so that's kind of the top story. Now, I'm not a newspaper article guy, so I'm sure like a lot of people can put their spin on it or what they should write. And basically wanted to start with a map, and I did like a little floating one on top to say, okay, here's where the story starts. So you can see Central is doing really well. Hence, that's why it's not really part of the story moving forward. It seems that North and South are the ones struggling the most. Specifically, what do we want to talk about, right? In this case, I did some annotations, right, to Southern Portugal and Southern Portugal, no, Portugal in the south, and Netherlands in the north, saying these are the two we're going to be talking about, right? And I obviously like to go from, left to right, which now breaks down into the two countries, okay? And when it comes to sales, it's kind of a bit one-dimensional. You got to look at both sales and profit, and this is where a scatter plot comes in really, really handy because then you can see, great, we made heaps of sales, but we also had, we lost, we had bad profit, right? Because you can't just look at one-dimensionally. So here I put them on a scatter plot, and you can see very, very clearly that appliances, whilst made, about $4,500 in sales, had a profit loss of minus 4,000, right? Looking at it independently, it can be misleading. If we look at the Netherlands, kind of the same thing, where you have bookcases. Now, in the business world, right, in the professional world where kind of I come from, I can only speak on that. If you have like, let's say how many categories here, right? 6 categories that are all kind of in the red. we're not really going to take action on all six at the exact same time. You know, you're going to have to strategize. So this is kind of the way I design, because then I can go to my managers or, you know, the business I'm dealing with and say, hey, there's my recommendation. Here's where you start, right? Start with appliances, start with bookcases, fix that, and we'll move on to the next thing. Because kind of behind all of this in terms of actionable data is the strategy behind how do we go about fixing this. And that's usually outside of Tableau, right? And I can make it a lot easier for people, because instead of telling them, hey, listen, you got to fix like 8 categories, most people just be like, oh, where do we start? What do we do? What, you know? So you give them a starting point. And from here, you go appliances and bookcases is your starting point if you want to fix this. Now, looking at it from a consulting point of view, that's basically what you're doing. You're saying, here's your problem. This is where it's at, right? Now from here, let's say appliances in Portugal, if you go down here, this is the appliances profit loss by product, right? I probably should have wrote product in there. So a bit of improvement. So you can see that the Hoover stove, KitchenAid, Breville coffee grinder, Hamilton, Hoover, right? This is the profit loss. So Hoover has made the highest profit loss. This seems to be the biggest contributor to this profit loss, right? If you look at Netherlands, I did the same thing. You got bookcases, you got all these ones which are in profit loss, but these are two worse ones. So Safco Corner and IKEA Classic. So again, you're giving the team or whoever you're working with exactly what to fix. Guys, either get rid of the product or do something about it, right? For this one and this one. Now let's say they go, all right, solved. Okay, they go, all right, that's done. We've gotten rid of those product lines, or we're done strategy, whatever. The dashboard gets refreshed. The appliances and bookcase most likely will go from here to maybe down here, right? Bookcase, same thing. It'll probably go down here, which then goes, well, who's our next one or two? Okay, so let's say phones, right? And then you carry the exercise again. So there's kind of a life cycle part behind dashboards. And that's, again, just from my experience of it's not just a dashboard. It's creating action. It's understanding that things have sequences, that people need to be involved, that things take time. And this also forms a way for them to track, okay, what's the next thing? All right, what's the next thing? Or where's the next problem? And it can let them fix one by one everything that they need to fix, right? The rest of it is kind of like formatting and layout. So one of the things you probably won't notice is I put a blank in here, right? So if I just get out of this, you see that that's just a blank, and I put that in, can't get into this thing, using this blank here. And I like to think of the white space as just a breath, right? And I read that from I can't remember what the book was. It was like a visualization book. And basically says that when you're visualizing, it's like reading a book where you have paragraphs. Every time a paragraph ends, you take a breath and you start the next part of the story. It's the same thing with visualizations, right? You don't want to just continuously be data, 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 visual. Give them something to follow, take a breath, and kind of see the journey, right? What else can we talk about? Other little things like you want to eliminate as many borders as you can. So a lot of people do this where they'll go layout, border, black. A lot of the times I think they just want to show that it's a different visualization from this one, for example. But you don't really need that. In fact, I believe it's better to put a space, because the problem with borders is that it competes for attention, right? You want the data to be the most important thing. So get rid of the borders, get rid of anything that you don't need, right? So that the data shines through. And that's kind of actually the philosophy behind Tableau. You know, make the process so intuitive, make the tool so easy to use that the data is the most important thing that the reader sees. Okay, so let's get rid of that border. The other thing I notice with some of the other dashboards is the ratios. So if I go back to this one, a lot of the times they'll do a ratio like this, like maybe a square, something like that. Take the time to figure out what the maximum size you can do is. So for example, in some of the companies I've worked in, a lot of them use 22-inch monitors, for example, right? Or some may just use exclusively just small, what is it, like I don't know, 15-inch laptops. I don't even know what size laptops are anymore, like 12-inch, right? So you design to that. So for example, in this one, I designed this for a relatively large computer, right? So this is, I think I'm viewing this on a 24-inch, and a lot of my colleagues all use 24-inch. So when they see it, it's like a full experience, right? You can see there's not too much white space at the bottom or top, right? The title I usually give a little bit more just because it's a title. It's the kind of the first thing people kind of gravitate towards. But again, the white space is really important. The ratio is really important. And that's kind of the gist of it. So what I'll do is, I should be able to, I'll provide a link at the bottom of this video where you can download this dashboard from my Google Drive, and you can have a play and you can see kind of how I did it. Have any comments or suggestions of how I can make this better? Because again, even after all these years, I am still learning. I'm still trying to improve. I would love to hear from you guys. And if you guys have a dashboard that you want me to review and maybe take a approach on, I'll let me know. And yeah, let's see if I'm up to the challenge. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you soon.